The light comes first. It always does. Through the hallway window, past the white lace curtains that haven't been changed in 7 years, the morning sun arrives like a gentle visitor who knows not to knock. It spreads across the hardwood floor in golden ribbons, catching every particle of dust that floats there, suspended in time, turning the ordinary air into something almost sacred. And there, on the wooden coat rack by the door, hangs the jacket, the same place, the same angle slightly tilted to the left as if someone had just shrugged it off their shoulders and promised to return in a moment. Brown leather, worn soft at the elbows, with those 2 brass buttons near the collar that always needed polishing, but never got it. A jacket that holds the shape of a person who is no longer here. The house knows this silence well. It's not the silence of emptiness, not exactly. It's the silence of presence held in memory, of rooms that remember footsteps, of walls that still echo with laughter that happened years ago, but somehow feels like yesterday. This is the silence of a life that continues but differently, quieter, slower, as if time itself has learned to tread more carefully. In the kitchen, a single cup sits on the counter. White porcelain with a small chip on the rim, filled halfway with coffee that has gone cold. The morning ritual, performed out of habit more than desire. 2 scoops from the blue tin, water poured just before it boils. The familiar sound of ceramic against wood as the cup is set down. But only 1 cup now. Only 1. The morning light moves across the photographs on the hallway wall. Wedding day, 1968. 2 faces, young and radiant, caught in black and white, frozen in a moment when the future seemed infinite and unbreakable. The beach house vacation, the children's graduations, the grandchildren's christenings. A life captured in wooden frames, moments that once felt so ordinary, they barely seemed worth photographing. And now each one precious beyond measure. The jacket catches the light differently as the sun climbs higher. The leather seems to warm, to almost glow. And for just a moment, it's possible to imagine warmth still held within the fabric. The scent of old cologne, of pipe tobacco, of the particular smell that was just him, uniquely his. Memory lives in scent more powerfully than in sight or sound. A single breath can carry you back decades. The floorboards creak in the familiar places. 3rd step from the top of the stairs, the corner where the hallway turns toward the bedroom, the spot just before the front door where the wood has settled lower over 60 years of footsteps. The house speaks its own language, a vocabulary of groans and sighs that only someone who has lived here for a lifetime can understand. Outside, the world moves on. Cars pass on the street, their engines a distant hum. A neighbor's dog barks at the mailman. Children wait for the school bus at the corner, their voices high and bright, unaware that inside this quiet house, time moves differently. That here, in this hallway, in the presence of this jacket, the past and present exist in the same space, breathing the same air. The morning ritual continues. Check the thermostat, though the temperature hasn't changed. Water the African violet on the windowsill, purple blooms, soft as velvet. Straighten the mail on the side table, mostly advertisements and bills, addressed to someone who can no longer receive them. The postal service doesn't know. Or perhaps they do, but names in their system take longer to fade than the people who carried them. And always, passing through the hallway, that moment of pausing. Just a second, sometimes less. Eyes that move to the jacket, then away, then back. A hand that almost reaches out but stops halfway. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because to touch it would be to acknowledge something that feels too large to hold. To move it would be to make a choice that the heart isn't ready to make. The morning sun climbs higher still, and the light in the hallway shifts from gold to something clearer, more direct. The dust particles continue their endless floating dance. Time passes in heartbeats, in breaths, in the ticking of the grandfather clock in the living room that he wound every Sunday morning without fail, and that still keeps time, though the hand that wound it is gone. This is how the day begins. This is how every day begins now. With light, with silence, with memory, and with that jacket still hanging there. Act 2. The everyday ghost. The house has learned to live with ghosts. Not the frightening kind from stories, but the gentle ghosts of habit and routine. The ghost of a coffee cup that should be on the right side of the kitchen table. The ghost of footsteps that should be descending the stairs at 7:45. The ghost of a voice calling out from the garden, asking if lunch is ready yet. These ghosts don't haunt. They simply exist, woven into the fabric of daily life like threads in an old tapestry. The books on the shelf in the living room still hold their secrets. His books, mostly. History and biography, old westerns with cracked spines, a collection of woodworking manuals that smell of sawdust even though the workshop in the garage hasn't been opened in 3 years. Dust has settled on their tops, a thin gray layer that catches the afternoon light. Sometimes, late at night, there's the impulse to wipe them clean, to restore them to what they were. But the dust has become part of them now, a marking of time, and to remove it would feel like erasing something important. The telephone rings at odd hours, friends from church asking how things are, their voices careful and measured, as if speaking too loudly might shatter something fragile. They mean well. Everyone means well. They say things like, "You should get out more," and "It's not healthy to stay in that big house alone," and "Have you thought about moving closer to your daughter?" Questions that sound like concern but feel like pressure, like hands trying to push against a door that has already been firmly closed. Sarah calls every Tuesday evening at 6, dependable as clockwork, same as her father was. Her voice comes through the phone line warm and worried, and the conversation follows familiar paths. "How are you feeling? Did you eat properly today? I saw this article about senior activities at the community center. You know you're always welcome to come stay with us for a while." The words are loving, genuine, but they carry an undercurrent of something else. A gentle insistence that life should be moving forward, that staying still is somehow wrong, that keeping a jacket on a coat rack is a symptom rather than a choice. But they don't understand. How could they? They haven't lived in this house for 43 years. They didn't build a life here, brick by brick, memory by memory, until the walls themselves became part of who you are. They didn't learn the particular way the afternoon sun creates a square of warmth on the reading chair at 3 o'clock, or the sound of rain on the roof that always meant curling up together with tea and old movies. They love you, but they can't understand that moving on isn't always the same as moving forward. The kitchen table is too large now. 4 chairs, but only one is ever used. The placemat on the opposite side remains set, cloth napkin folded beside it, out of habit that has hardened into ritual. Sometimes dinner is eaten there, fork scraping against plate in the quiet, the only sound besides the refrigerator's hum. Other times a sandwich is eaten standing at the counter, because sitting at that table alone makes the emptiness too loud. The evenings are the hardest. When the light begins to fade and the house fills with shadows, that's when the memories become most vivid. The sound of the evening news playing in the living room, the smell of whatever was cooking for dinner, pot roast on Sundays, spaghetti on Wednesdays, fish on Fridays, because he was raised Catholic and some habits never leave. The feeling of not being alone, of presence in another room, of the simple comfort of knowing someone else is there, breathing the same air, living the same life. The neighbors are kind but distant. Mrs. Chen from next door brings soup sometimes, leaves it on the porch with a note rather than knocking. The couple across the street wave from their driveway but don't visit. There's a certain isolation that comes with loss, an invisible barrier that grows between the grieving and the whole. People don't know what to say, so they say nothing or they say too much, and neither option feels right. But the jacket understands. The jacket doesn't ask questions or offer advice. It doesn't suggest moving on or letting go. It simply hangs there, day after day, a silent witness to the life that continues around it. In the morning when the coffee's made, it's there. In the afternoon when the mail arrives, it's there. In the evening when the lights are turned off one by one, it's there. Constant. Unchanging. A small piece of permanence in a world that has proven terrifyingly impermanent. Sometimes passing through the hallway, there's a moment of speaking out loud. Not to anyone, exactly. Or perhaps to everyone. Words that hang in the air like the dust particles in the sunlight. The roses bloomed early this year. Or, I finally fixed that dripping faucet you kept meaning to get to. Or simply, I miss you. 3 small words that contain everything and nothing, that are both completely adequate and entirely insufficient. The seasons change outside the hallway window. Spring brought crocuses and daffodils. Summer filled the garden with tomatoes and zucchini that no one really wanted, but he always insisted on growing. Fall turned the maple tree copper and gold, leaves drifting down to carpet the lawn. Winter frosted the windows and made the house feel smaller, more intimate. Though whether that was comforting or suffocating depended on the day. Through all of it, the jacket remained, a brown leather constant, a fixed point in a turning world. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that had to be enough. Act 3, the visit. The sound of tires on gravel breaks the afternoon silence. A car door slams, followed by another, smaller one. Children's voices, high and excited, pierce through the usual quiet of the street. Through the front window, there's a glimpse of Sarah's blue sedan, and behind her, struggling with a car seat, her husband Michael. And in his arms, bundled against the October chill, little Emma, 3 years old, and full of the kind of energy that only small children possess. The doorbell rings, though Sarah has a key, and knows she doesn't need to use the bell. But she's always been thoughtful that way, always respected boundaries, always knocked before entering even her childhood bedroom. The door opens before there's time to reach it, and suddenly, the hallway is full of life and motion and noise. Such noise. After weeks of silence, Emma barrels in first, pink jacket and light-up sneakers, hair in pigtails that won't stay neat, cheeks flushed from the cold outside. She heads straight for the living room, where she knows the toy chest waits, the one that's been there since Sarah was small, now repurposed for grandchildren's visits. Sarah follows, arms full of bags and containers, already talking about dinner and how traffic was worse than expected. And did you eat lunch because I brought that soup you like? Michael nods. Hello. Polite as always, slightly uncomfortable in his in-law role, never quite sure where to put his hands or what to say to fill the silence. He gravitates toward the television, asks about the football scores, settles into the routine of small talk that has become their pattern over years of these visits. The house transforms with their presence. Lights turned on in rooms that have been dark. The thermostat adjusted higher because Emma gets cold easily. Toys spread across the living room floor in a chaos of color and sound. Blocks and dolls and small plastic things that seem designed primarily to hurt when stepped on. The quiet that has been a companion for so long is banished, replaced by the warm chaos of family. And it's both wonderful and exhausting in equal measure. Sarah moves through the house with purpose, tidying things that don't need tidying, checking the refrigerator, throwing out milk that's past its date. She's in caretaker mode, the same mode she used to enter when coming home from college and finding her aging parents struggling with things they used to do easily. Now it's just one aging parent, and the struggle is different but no less visible. "Mom, you should really let me set up a cleaning service," Sarah says from the kitchen, not for the first time. "Just once a week, someone to do the heavy stuff. You shouldn't be climbing on step stools at your age." The words are caring, but they sting slightly. That phrase, "at your age," as if crossing some invisible threshold suddenly rendered a person incapable. As if needing help was something to be ashamed of rather than simply a fact of time's passage. Emma discovers the hallway while Sarah unpacks groceries. Small footsteps, the squeak of those light-up shoes against hardwood. She stands before the coat rack, staring up at the jacket with the intensity that only small children can muster. That focus that seems to see more than adults do. "Whose jacket?" she asks, voice loud in the way of 3-year-olds who haven't learned volume control. The question hangs in the air. Sarah appears from the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel, her expression shifting to something careful, something concerned. Michael looks up from his phone. The house seems to hold its breath. "That was Grandpa's jacket, sweetie," Sarah says gently, moving toward her daughter. "Remember, Mommy's daddy, who lives in heaven now." Emma considers this with the seriousness of someone trying to understand abstract concepts with concrete thinking. Why is it here if he's there? A child's logic, simple and irrefutable. The question that everyone has danced around for 3 years, asked outright by someone too young to know it shouldn't be asked. Sarah's eyes meet her mother's across the hallway, and in that look is a conversation they've had before, in different words but the same meaning. Sarah's expression is gentle but firm, love mixed with worry. She's been patient, so patient, but patience has limits. The look says, "Don't you think it's time?" And "This isn't healthy," and "I'm scared for you," all without a single word spoken aloud. "Maybe we should..." Sarah starts, then stops, choosing her words carefully. "Maybe we should put it somewhere safe. Pack it away nicely. I could take it to that storage place where we put Dad's tools and his workbench. Everything would be preserved, protected." The suggestion is reasonable, logical, practical. All the things Sarah has always been, firstborn and responsible. The one who solved problems and made lists and thought 3 steps ahead. But some things can't be solved with logic and lists. "It's fine where it is." The words come out quieter than intended, but firm enough to carry meaning. Sarah sighs, the sigh of someone who has had this conversation before, who knows how it will end, but feels obligated to try anyway. "Mom, I just think it's fine where it is." Repeated with more emphasis this time. Emma has already moved on, her attention span flitting to the photographs on the wall, to the grandfather clock, to the dust motes floating in the late afternoon sun. But the adults remain locked in their standoff, years of similar moments stacked behind this one, creating a weight that neither knows quite how to lift. The rest of the visit unfolds in the usual way. Dinner around the kitchen table, the 4 chairs finally all occupied. Emma's chatter filling the spaces that might otherwise hold difficult conversations. Stories about preschool and friends and a cat she saw at the park. Michael talks about work, something about quarterly reports that blur into meaningless corporate language. Sarah serves soup and sandwiches and keeps the conversation moving, performing the exhausting work of keeping everyone comfortable. Later, After dishes are washed and Emma is drowsy in her father's arms, Sarah lingers by the door. She hugs her mother tightly, holding on just a moment longer than necessary. "Call me if you need anything," she whispers. "Anything at all. Promise?" The promise is made, as it always is, knowing it probably won't be kept, as it usually isn't. Not because help isn't needed, but because asking for it feels like admitting something that isn't ready to be admitted. The blue sedan pulls away, taillights disappearing down the street, and the house settles back into its silence. But it's different now. The visit has disturbed something, kicked up questions that had been lying dormant, pushed against boundaries that had felt secure. In the hallway, the jacket still hangs on the coat rack, unmoved, unchanged. But the way it's seen has shifted slightly, like a photograph turned to catch different light. The question lingers in the air, Emma's small voice still echoing. Why is it here if he's there? A child's question. A question without an easy answer. Or perhaps with too many answers, none of them quite right. Act 4. The breeze. The house settles into evening with its usual collection of sounds. The refrigerator's compressor clicking on in the kitchen. The furnace rumbling to life in the basement, sending heat through old pipes and older vents. The grandfather clock marking time with its steady tick, tick, tick. A heartbeat that never stops, never wavers, never forgets. But tonight something is different. The front door, old and warped slightly in its frame, hasn't latched properly. It happens sometimes, especially on humid days when the wood swells, or after visitors who don't quite pull it shut with enough force. Now, as evening settles and the temperature drops, the door swings open, just an inch, maybe 2. Enough for the October air to find its way inside. The breeze comes gently at first, cool but not cold, carrying the smell of autumn. Dried leaves and wood smoke from someone's chimney, the earthy scent of soil preparing for winter. It moves through the front hallway like a visitor who knows the way, flowing across the hardwood, stirring the dust particles that hang suspended in what's left of the day's light. And the jacket moves, just slightly, just enough. The leather shoulders shift on the coat rack, the fabric catches the air, and for one perfect, terrible, beautiful moment, it's as if someone has just walked past, as if the jacket is being disturbed by presence rather than wind. As if time has folded back on itself and 3 years have disappeared like morning fog. The breath catches. The heart stumbles. Time suspends itself between 1 second and the next. The light is changing too. The afternoon sun has moved on, but in its place comes that particular quality of evening that only October knows. Golden blue, somewhere between day and night, warm and cool at once. It falls through the hallway window at an angle that happens only this time of year, only this hour, painting everything in tones that seem to exist outside of normal color, in some space between memory and reality. The breeze continues, patient and persistent, and with it come the memories, not gently, not cautiously, but all at once, a flood that has been held back too long. They arrive with the weight of physical things, solid and real and impossible to ignore. A Saturday morning in May, 1972. Standing together in this very hallway, him adjusting that jacket's collar before heading out to help his brother move. The smell of coffee and aftershave, the scratch of his unshaved cheek against a forehead kiss, the promise to be home by dinner. Small moments that felt unremarkable at the time, that only became precious after they could never happen again. The vacation to the coast, the summer the children were still small, him wearing that jacket in the evening when the beach wind turned cold, collar turned up, hands in pockets, looking out at the ocean with an expression of perfect contentment. The way he always stood so still in those moments, as if trying to memorize something he knew wouldn't last forever. The diagnosis day. Coming home from the doctor's office, him hanging the jacket on the rack with such careful deliberateness, as if everything had to be put in its exact right place now that time had become finite and countable. The way his hands shook just slightly, the way he wouldn't meet anyone's eyes for the rest of that day, the hospital, the weeks of visits, the smell of antiseptic and flowers and fear. Coming home alone for the first time, entering this hallway, seeing the jacket there where it had been left, and feeling something inside break so completely that it seemed impossible to imagine it ever being whole again. But also, the laughter. The Sunday mornings reading newspapers in bed with coffee, the terrible jokes that made everyone groan but also smile. The way he could fix anything with enough patience and the right tools. The garden he tended with such care, talking to tomato plants as if they could understand him, and maybe they did. The grandchildren he never got to meet but would have loved so completely. The 43 years of ordinary, beautiful, irreplaceable life. The breeze moves through the hallway, and with it, a thought arrives. Love doesn't end with absence. It's a simple thought, not particularly profound or original. Probably read on a sympathy card or heard at the funeral from someone trying to be helpful. But here, now, in this light, with that jacket swaying gently on the coat rack, the words feel different, feel true in a way they haven't before. The love is still here. It exists in the dust on his books, in the placemat still set at the table, in the garden that still produces tomatoes every summer, in the marriage certificate framed on the bedroom wall, in the memories that live in every corner of this house, in the jacket that hangs in the hallway, holding his shape, keeping his space. The grief is real. The loss is real. The absence is real. But so is the love. Both can be true at once. Maybe that's what all these years have been trying to teach. That holding on and letting go aren't opposites. That memory isn't the same as denial. That keeping a jacket on a coat rack isn't about refusing to move forward, but about honoring where you've been. The breeze continues its patient movement through the hallway, and something shifts. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but definitely, like a door opening somewhere deep inside, letting in air and light that haven't been there for a long time. The weight that has been pressing down for 3 years doesn't disappear. It may never disappear entirely, but it lifts slightly, becomes something that can be carried rather than something that pins you in place. Emma's question echoes again. Why is it here if he's there? And maybe the answer is this. Because here is where it belongs. Because this is where the life was lived. Because physical objects can hold immaterial things. Love and memory and connection. And maybe that's not something to apologize for or explain away. Maybe it's something to honor. The light continues shifting toward evening, the golden blue deepening toward purple and gray. Soon the sun will set completely, and the hallway will be dark until tomorrow's light arrives to begin the cycle again. Time continues its steady march, indifferent to grief and memory, and small leather jackets on wooden coat racks. But for now, in this moment, in this particular quality of October light, with the breeze still moving through the half-open door and the jacket swaying gently in the air, there is something close to peace. Not happiness, exactly, not the absence of pain, but something quieter, deeper, more sustainable. Acceptance, maybe. Understanding. The recognition that this too is a way of living, a way of loving, a way of being. The heart doesn't have to choose between past and present. It's large enough for both. The breeze begins to fade as evening settles in completely. The door will need to be closed soon, latched properly and against the cooling night. But not quite yet. For now, let the air flow through. Let the memories come. Let the jacket sway on its rack, catching the last of the light, holding its space. Remaining. Act 5, the evening light. The day folds itself away slowly, the way October days do, reluctant to leave but knowing they must. The sun has dropped below the neighbor's roofline, casting the street in shadows that stretch long and blue across lawns that need one more mowing before winter comes. The maple tree in the front yard glows copper in the last light, each leaf a small flame against the darkening sky. Inside, the hallway has transformed again. The golden light is gone now, replaced by something softer, more forgiving. The blue hour, photographers call it. That time between day and night, when the world exists in gentle suspension, when colors deepen and edges blur, and everything feels slightly dreamlike. The jacket is still there. Of course it is. Where else would it be? But it looks different now in this light. Less like a relic, less like a shrine. More like simply what it is. A piece of clothing, worn soft with use and time, that once belonged to someone beloved. It's both ordinary and sacred, which is perhaps true of all objects that outlive their owners and carry memory forward. The front door has been closed now, latched properly against the evening chill. The house is sealed again, warm and quiet, preparing for another night. The furnace hums, the refrigerator cycles. The grandfather clock continues its patient counting of seconds into minutes, into hours, into days. In the kitchen, tea is made. Chamomile, the kind that helps with sleep, that eases the transition from day into darkness. The kettle whistles its familiar note. The cup is filled, steam rising in soft curls, the scent gentle and soothing. Only one cup, but tonight that feels less like loss and more like simple fact. The evening routine unfolds. Lights turned off in rooms not being used, saving electricity out of a habit formed during lean years that somehow never faded, even when money became less tight. The thermostat adjusted down a few degrees for sleeping. The deadbolt checked twice, then 3 times. Because nighttime makes the world feel more dangerous, makes the fact of being alone more present. But before going upstairs, before settling into the bedroom that's been rearranged twice since his side of the bed became permanently empty, there's a pause in the hallway. A moment of standing before the coat rack, teacup cradled in both hands for warmth, looking at the jacket in the dimming light. Sarah's words echo. Maybe we should put it somewhere safe. Emma's question. Why is it here if he's there? The well-meaning suggestions from friends. You need to let go. It's time to move forward. You're holding yourself back. And beneath all of those, quieter but more insistent, the question that's been there all along. What happens if I forget? What happens if the memories fade? If his face becomes less clear? If the sound of his voice, already growing distant, disappears entirely? What happens if moving forward means leaving him behind? But that's not what this jacket means. That's not what it's ever meant. The jacket isn't a refusal to accept loss. It's not denial or dysfunction or unhealthy attachment. It's simply this, a marker, a small monument to a large life, a reminder that love doesn't have to end just because presence does. That it's okay to carry the past forward into the present, to let it coexist with whatever comes next. That healing doesn't require forgetting. Tomorrow will come, and the next day, and the day after that. The sun will continue rising and setting with dependable regularity. The seasons will turn. Children will grow. The world will change in small and large ways, indifferent to individual grief, moving forward because that's what the world does. And the jacket will still hang here, maybe forever. Maybe not. Maybe one day, in some unknown future, it will feel right to fold it carefully, to store it away with other precious things, to let the coat rack hold something else or nothing at all. Or maybe it will stay exactly as it is, growing more worn and weathered with time, until it's as much a part of this house as the floorboards and the walls. Either way is fine. Both ways are okay, because the jacket isn't him. It never was. It's just a piece of leather and buttons and fabric that he happened to wear, that happened to become associated with his presence through the accumulation of ordinary days. The real him exists elsewhere, in the daughter who inherited his sense of humor and his stubborn streak, in the granddaughter who will carry his name forward into a future he'll never see, in the garden that still grows, in the memories that live in a heart that loved him and still does, and always will. The jacket is just the jacket, but it's also everything. Both things can be true. A small smile crosses tired lips, the first real smile in longer than it's worth counting. Not happiness, exactly. Something quieter than that. Something more like understanding or acceptance, or simply the recognition that this is the life that exists now, in this moment, in this house, with this history and this loss and this love. The tea has grown cool enough to drink. The first sip is sweet and slightly bitter, the taste of flowers and honey, of routine comfort at the end of a long day. Outside, the evening is settling into night. Stars are beginning to appear in the darkening sky. A car passes on the street, headlights sweeping briefly across the hallway wall before disappearing. Upstairs, the bed is waiting. Sleep will come eventually, as it always does. Tomorrow will arrive with its own morning light, its own small rituals, its own quiet moments of grief and memory and continuing life. The jacket will catch the sun again. Dust will float in the golden air again, and the day will unfold in its familiar patterns. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's life, continuing in its imperfect, beautiful, broken, whole way. That's love, persisting beyond the boundaries that logic says should contain it. That's memory, keeping company with the living, making the past present in ways both painful and precious. The teacup is set down on the side table. The lights in the hallway are turned off, leaving just the glow from the street lamp outside to paint faint patterns on the floor. The stairs creak under familiar weight, each step a sound the house has known for decades, will know for decades more if time allows. At the top of the stairs, there's a pause, a looking back down into the dim hallway where the jacket hangs on the coat rack by the door, barely visible now in the darkness. Just a shape, a suggestion, a presence. The words are spoken softly, into the quiet house, into the evening air, into the space where memory and present moment meet. And maybe that's okay. The words hang there for a moment, true and simple and sufficient. Then the bedroom door opens. The light switches on. The day ends, as all days must, but with something that wasn't there at its beginning. Not healing, not exactly. Not closure, that word that people use, as if grief has a deadline, an expiration date, a moment when the work is done. Just this, peace, understanding, the knowledge that love continues even when presence doesn't, that objects can hold meaning beyond their material form, that it's okay to keep a jacket hanging in a hallway, that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting where you've been, that grief and love are two sides of the same coin, that the past can live alongside the present without diminishing either, that some silences are full rather than empty, that maybe, just maybe, this too is a way of being whole, and maybe that's okay. End. Some stories end here, but others begin when you share them. Subscribe for more heartfelt stories.